Let's get you nice and powerful, nice and early in Once Human. To begin with, you're going to want to progress until the point where the game gives you the bike. This is incredibly early and very easy to do. If you do any amount of exploring, you'll probably end up at a similar place to me. I'm level 5 simply because I went ahead and cleared one area just because I wanted a few materials to make this a little bit easier on myself. But once we have this bike, the one thing that you really want to do to make things a little bit simple is make sure that you have calibrated your weapons. If you don't know how this works, go ahead and return to your base. Head to your gear workbench, which the game is going to direct you to anyway to create your first weapon, and you'll see that you have calibrate over on this right hand side right here. The first 2 levels are only actually going to take copper ingots, and as you can see, we get the stardust given to us as we clear out these zones that are in this area. Very much worth just getting yourself to +2 or +3 on these weapons. The pistol is probably going to get kept for longer, as we are going to replace this crossbow very, very quickly. So I would only recommend building one weapon that you feel comfortable with, and the pistol happens to be one of my favorites even into the later parts of the demo. I can't guarantee that it stays that good into the late game, but as it stands right now, the pistol is just a good all-round weapon, and we are going to be switching this out for an incredibly powerful sniper rifle very shortly. Additionally, at this point, the game has given you the best 2 sets of armor that you can combine. This is because we are given the raid set that you can see here, which gives you gathering speed and maximum load. We don't really care too much about reaching these high levels. You can if you want to perfect like a build or something, but for our purposes right now, we're going to get the 15% gathering speed as well as the +20 max load, combined with 4 parts from the rustic set, which is going to give us the movement speed and even more gathering speed, thereby making our progress through the game in general incredibly fast as we continue moving forward. Armor can also be calibrated, but we don't need to worry about that right now. We just need to make sure that weapons are, as enemies in the second area are not that aggressive, not going to do that much more damage, but the extra damage we'll be doing will make things a little bit easier. With that being the case, then we are obviously going to head south, and just so that you guys have a marker to follow, I'm going to show you exactly what it is we're going to be marking. You see, as we come down here, the delta kind of goes up in 2 separate chunks. Don't worry, we're not going to be fighting too many enemies. You're looking for this dark splodge. We're going to come west from this dark splodge, and we actually do want to come along this top road here. You don't want to come towards, because we're coming to this compound, we don't want to come from the bottom, we want to come from the top. That is going to be way, way easier. And place ourselves a marker right on this warehouse that you should be able to see on my map right now. And we are going to go ahead, we're going to follow the road. You see it's telling me to go along this low side. We can do that if we want to. There are some fast travel points you could nip to. You could nip to, may as mark it along the way if you wish to. And if you do want like an extra thing that you could get, over on this dock right here is a deviant that you can place in your base and will do logging for you. Maybe I'll get that on the way back, just because that's not necessarily making you overpowered, but it is going to make the game better. So stay to the end if you want to see how that works. And I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to follow this line. I'm not going to fight anything whatsoever until we arrive at the entrance to this enemy camp here. A few minutes later of driving, and we have arrived at the zone. It's up to you guys if you decide you want to take on the whole area, but there are some elite enemies in here, but we're not going to be facing any of them. As you can see, I'm just where the tower is. I already took out the sniper at the top. It is no issue. You're going to notice the enemies say level 19. But most of the damage in this game comes from your weapons anyway. The character level itself isn't really relative to how much damage you do. I am, however, going to recommend that we stay in sneak mode. We don't really want to get attacked too much, and we just need to get into that warehouse we can see just over the way with the red roof. That is the target. We'll take some loot though if we find it. When it comes to this red train, you don't want to go around the right hand side because that's going to result in us fighting more enemies. We're going to come around to the left instead. There might be a couple of drones. We just need to kind of keep an eye out to make sure we're not triggering too much combat in our little almost vulnerable state. But as you can see, we could just cut through where the trains are. And now on the left-hand side, there's going to be 3 enemies. Once we've taken those 3 enemies out, we are home free for getting this really powerful sniper rifle. So if you happen to have picked up any grenades or anything like this, now is a good time to use them. All right then, so with those few enemies down, they can put up a bit of a fight, but it should be okay. I suppose I probably should have said something like put a camp up outside just in case you do die. But as you can see, I've come out of it just fine. We've got a gear chest right here, but this is really optional to what it is that we're doing around here. Instead, what I'm going to recommend that we do is interact with this Carnival of Doom. Now, we want to do this fairly quickly because the enemies will respawn on us if we're not careful. This is quite a freaky quest, but it's nice and easy. I don't know if we can interact with him straight away. No, so we have to accept the challenge. So once you've gone through his symbol once, V should say something like he's playing something foul. Use your scan. You should then notice that we have a cable that's leading towards the back end of the room. Try not to rush this, because otherwise it seems that it has some kind of like fault. Then we got, look, someone's lurking there. We're going to climb on up so that we can see him. And now we should be able to go out and get him. I feel like we need to get all of the dialogue for this. I've just been having some problems with it getting to proc. But what should happen now is when we talk to Chuckles, we now have the option to get need some fresh air. All right, with that done, we can go on through the red door that is now opened for us. We're going to go ahead and sneak because I don't know how hard this guy is to fight, but backstabs in this game are instant kill. So we're going to go ahead, sneak up on this guy, stick a knife in him. So with that done, I think we should be able to investigate the cheating devices. So we want to investigate this. And now we can go and defeat Chuckles at his own game. So we're just going to go on back and interact with him. Doesn't really matter which one that you pick. We tried both when we were testing this out during the live stream. And if you've taken your time getting through this like I have, when we get out the other end, we are going to want to run off because enemies will have respawned. It's not like it's going to be like the end of the world or anything, but we don't really want to be fighting when we don't have to be. And like magic, we now have a new sniper rifle blueprint. And we should also have a copy of said sniper rifle in our inventory. So we're just going to get on out of here. And we can now take a look at the sniper rifle. We're going to see that it's tier 2, so we can't use it until level 10. So if you are not level 10 yet, we can either level up a little bit or we can make ourselves a new one. I'll show you guys how to do that in a second. I'll give you guys a demo of just how powerful that thing is. Right now, you have a choice to make. You can either follow me to get the logging beaver so that you can have a nicer looking base, or not a nicer looking base, so that you can have a deviant that collects wood for you passively. So you can go to sleep, wake up to a good 2,000 wood in the morning. Or if you want to, you can fast travel directly back to your base. So if you want the logging beaver, you want to place yourself a marker just on this set of docks right here to the south of Mayor's Market. And if you're going to do this, you might as well go ahead and interact with the fast travel here so that you have access to this later on, because we are going to get sent this way at some point. And once you make it to where the docks are, it should be pretty obvious. Basically, once we head towards that little shack over there, we can look out towards the water, and on the right hand side we can see that there's a deviant. That's what we're after. We get 3 chances to try and catch it, but it shouldn't be too bad. And there we have the logging beaver. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and teleport back to my base. You can wait around, so if you want to bring your base over this way, you can go ahead, start gathering some resources, wait for it to come back again, get a second one. That will basically mean you won't have to farm your own wood anymore, which is very, very nice. So we're going to go ahead, go back to our territory now, where we can now construct tier 1 version of the sniper rifle we just got, provided we have the copper for it. Build this out and get yourself some ammo for it. I've obviously got to do a little bit just so I can show you guys how overpowered this thing is when it hits something, especially at this low level. It's going to be pretty hilarious. And then we're obviously going to go ahead and we're going to set the beaver into our isolation unit. You could take the butterfly around with you as well. We do, in fact, if you come into your buildings here, facilities, and into functional, with a little bit of glass and copper, we can build an extra one. You can put your butterfly so you can equip it, like you kind of talked to in the tutorial. But now, once this charges up, it's going to wander off and bring wood back to its case so that we don't have to gather that anymore. And I'm not even going to calibrate this, but just like, not only is the thing really powerful, watch, right? I'm going to move whilst I'm shooting. The stability on this thing is outstanding as well, right? So if we're like aiming at this, you can see it's barely even like coming off of the target, even though I'm moving side to side. Really, really nice. And the rate of fire is fast enough that, you know, if there's a few enemies, it's just not an issue, right? So this just absolutely operates as a beast. Its only downside really is that it has a kind of long-ish reload speed, but this is going to effectively make the rest of the game extremely easy for you. And that combined with the armor set that we're using is going to mean that we have 35% extra craft speed, plenty of health, and are able to deal with everything. All you'll need to do from now on is make sure you upgrade to the current tier and get a decent calibration on it to keep up with the enemies that you're facing.